All your favorite wrestling shows rolled into one. Welcome to the We Book It podcast. Let's start the show.
That is right. We are back for another edition of Monday Night Raw Dog. I am your host, Coach, and filling in tonight for my usual producer, Big Daddy C, we got the man who created it all for the We Book It podcast, and that is my man, Virgil. Virgil, how you doing tonight, man?
Yo. What's going on, brother?
Hey, I think we're both in a pretty good mood, everybody, because, for me, Cardinals won. For him, Cubs won. Yeah. And we saw some great wrestling tonight for Monday Night Raw. So I think you're in for a treat, everybody. So let's just jump right into it. We kick off tonight's episode, though, in a little bit of a somber tone as WWE runs a brief video package for the legendary Sabu, who unfortunately passed away this weekend. And it's crazy to think, Virgil, that his last match was just a month ago in GCW.
Yeah. Sabu, for me, I used to be terrified of him because of the simple fact of like the crazy stuff he would do. So my introduction to Sabu was channel 62 WJYS. It was actually a Christian channel in Chicago, but at 11 o'clock on Saturday nights, they would air ECW. And like that's why I was introduced to the Dudley Boys. That's why I was introduced to Rob Van Dam. That's why I was introduced to Stevie Richards. That's why I was introduced to the Blue Meanie. I was introduced to Sandman. I was introduced to everybody, all those cast of characters. And I Taz, way back when he was the Tasmanian, and all these other cast of characters that Paul Heyman was running over there at ECW at the time. And Sabu, to me, always seemed like the craziest. He always seemed like he was bleeding and like he was always doing like some type of death-defying crazy move that just did not make sense, but kept me like glued to the television. So his wrestling acumen, the ability and the things he was able to do in the ring, I think are unmatched. There are a lot of Sabu babies out here that are trying to, do what Sabu did in the ring, like I said, especially like revolutionizing hardcore wrestling. But, like I said, he will be missed. Thank you for your contribution, Sabu.
Yes, definitely. So after that, we get CM Punk returning to Monday Night Raw for the first time since WrestleMania 41 to address kind of how he's feeling. And he mainly blames himself for what went down for trusting Paul Heyman, then goes off saying how Seth Rollins is just a Temu version of CM Punk, calls Paul Heyman the Penguin, says you might as well get out here. And of course, Paul Heyman comes out. They have an exchange of words. That's only forced Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker to make their way in. And as they are ready to beat up CM Punk, Seth Rollins grabs a chair. Here comes Jey Uso for the save with the super kick into the chair, which Seth Rollins is holding near his face. They take the brawl a little bit outside, and then that was the end of that. But we now look at this quote-unquote faction that they have going. You had Sammy and CM Punk last week fending off Rollins and Breaker. Didn't see Sammy this time. And now Jey Uso's getting involved. So now it becomes who's going to be that third member of this faction. And I like it's a little bit of a cliffhanger going forward as you're wondering who is going to be the one to join. And I thought a really good job opening up Monday Night Raw coming off of Backlash. What do you think, Virgil?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you're coming off a really hot show with Backlash. It really did turn out to be a good show. There was some that even said it was better than both nights of WrestleMania. But for me, I just really appreciated how you immediately come in and it's like, okay, let's start the show off big. One thing that I remember about Vince McMahon's booking of Monday Night Raw, especially coming off of a hot pay-per-view, it was always, let's start this off big. How can we open this up big? And you don't get much bigger starting Monday Night Raw off than starting it off with CM Punk. So the simple fact that you had CM Punk on there and he's kicking off the show, and then of course let's further the storyline with Seth Rollins. Let's get some more meat onto those bones. And yeah, man, this thing is growing legs, and it's great. It's really great TV to watch. So you kind of see where we're headed now. A 3-on-3 match for what is it called? A 6-man tag match. Probably at well, would you do that at Money in the Bank? There's like so many pay-per-views coming up, like all in a row. Like that's the hard part. Like
Yeah.
where would you book this? Would you book this at Money in the Bank, or are you gonna put Braun Breaker in the Money in the Bank ladder match? Are you gonna, like I said, so you kind of got to look at that. But there needs to be the reveal of the third man. This is almost as good as the NWO third man reveal, right?
Almost. We'll see if they top that. If they do it the exact same way as that, then I'm convinced Vince Russo is back writing for WWE.
Bro, I had to come back, bro. Paul called me, bro, and told me I needed to come back home, bro. I needed to write for the WWE, bro.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Anyways, moving on to our first match of the night. It is Penta versus Chad Gable, and it was a pretty standard match. Penta getting worn down by Gable, Gable getting the ankle lock, but then Penta survives, hits the Mexican Destroyer. 1, 2, 3, Penta with the victory. Good recovery, especially after losing Saturday in the Intercontinental Championship match. Good thing to get Penta back on track. Not as good as the very first time these two faced off against each other.
Sure.
But I still thought a solid match, and if anything, it's just prolonging the story. And from what I've read in the dirt sheets, this is eventually leading to a Penta versus El Grande Americano match at SummerSlam, mask versus mask contest.
Ooh.
So loser reveals who they are. So Virgil, what do you think of this match?
I like that. The match itself, I thought, like you said, it's very hard to recreate and top a second match. Like, and I'm not saying these are on the same level, so don't take it wrong for this. Like, don't take it like I'm saying it like that. But the first Undertaker Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 was better than Shawn Michaels Undertaker 2 at WrestleMania 26. I mean, it's very hard to top that first one. And that first match between them was really, really good. But this match sufficed. It was good.
All right, getting to our next match, which is a number 1 contenders match in the tag team division between the War Raiders and the Creed brothers, with the New Day joining Cole and Pat McAfee, who is back on commentary after his battle against Gunther. And believe it or not, McAfee actually did have an injury. He had a popped blood vessel in his eye that he sported, so that was pretty sweet that he had some kind of injury like that. But anyways, we get to the action, and it really showcased how good the Creeds are. And the War Raiders got their usual comeback going, but it was too much for them. The Creeds were too much, but it was actually Kofi who rose from the commentary table and knocked Ivar down from the top rope, and then Brutus Ball for the win against the Creeds, and the crowd just wasn't into it, and that was just so unfortunate because this was a pretty good match, but I don't know what was up with the crowd for this match. It was a very solid display of tag team wrestling, and it was interesting that you would have the New Day come in and interfere like that. So I'm very curious how that's going to go. I do think this is probably going to end up being a triple threat tag team match eventually, but very, very interesting how this match progressed, but the crowd just not being in it unfortunately made it worse.
Yeah, the problem is that I feel like, and I'm not saying everybody, but I feel like most American crowds don't appreciate tag team matches unless they're TLC matches or ladder matches or something like that. Like, you feel what I'm coming from? Like,
yeah,
it's almost like, if it's just a regular standard tag team match, they're like, oh, yawn, or in the words of Mike Jones, a piss break. But like to those of us that actually care about tag team wrestling, like a good tag team match, I mean, could work wonders for you if it's done right. Good tag team wrestling is a cornerstone of wrestling in itself. So I mean, like I said, to me, it's unfortunate that these crowds reacted the way that they did. But yes, we are headed towards a triple threat tag team match for the World Tag Team titles. Don't know if it's going to be at Night of not Night of Champions. That's happening in September. Don't know if it's going to be at Crown Jewel. What's the So, okay, there's Saturday night's main event coming up. There is Money in the Bank on June 7th, and there's something in between that. And then they're talking about doing a Women's Evolution pay-per-view. So a lot of crap going on at once right now that they're trying to plan out, but that's neither here nor there. At one of these next upcoming pay-per-views, you're going to see that triple threat tag match for the World Tag Team titles, and it'll be a good match. I would say Saturday night's main event might be a good place to do it.
Yeah, I think so too. And speaking of Saturday night's main event, before we get to our next segment, before that segment, we get a announcement that CM Punk and Sami Zayn will go against Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker in a tag team match at Saturday night's main event. And after the announcement, you could see there was a little bit of tension between Sami and CM Punk and discussing kind of the lack of trust that they both have. So definitely something going forward into next week. We'll see how it plays out. So our next segment, we get Jey Uso coming out and discussing to the WWE Universe how he is ready to take on Logan Paul at Saturday night's main event. And as he talked about how Logan Paul is a very good wrestler, very good athlete, he's got nothing on Jey Uso, only for Gunther to come out and interrupt him. And he basically just says that he is invoking his rematch that he's deserved, and that on June 9th, on an episode of Raw from Phoenix, he will face the winner of Jey Uso or Logan Paul. Depending on who wins that, it's going to be Jey Uso. We're going to get a rematch there. And Jey was not shaken, and Gunther tried his best to play mind games, and Jey was not biting one bit. And I got to give credit where credit's due. The creative team is doing a great job building Jey Uso up with this resiliency. Eventually, when they went backstage, Braun Breaker laid out Jey, and again, they're building him up as that never say die babyface, which is, I won't say it's what's been lacking, but it hasn't been done right in a while. And I think they're finally doing it right, if that makes sense.
Would you say that it's close to like The Rock, the Rock's 2000 run? where he was going up against the McMahon Helmsley faction, and it was just basically like him by himself because they had fired Mick Foley, they had done all these other things to him. So like but he just kept coming back. He just kept coming back until he got the title.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is a good comparison as well. And maybe this is more recency bias. I'm kind of thinking of Daniel Bryan's run.
I knew he was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Man, Coach, the more we pod together, the more we do these Monday shows, I start thinking like, yeah, I knew this way you was headed.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing more of, but I do understand where you're coming from as well with that. That's a good example.
Sure.
As well. But those are two perfect examples of the never say die babyface being booked correctly. They tried that with Roman Reigns after the Daniel Bryan success, and it just did not work out. And they haven't really tried it anymore, it feels like, since then. And now they're giving it another go, and they're doing it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like I said, Jay Uso holding the world title, he's not going to have a long run. I full on expect somebody to cash in on him at Money in the Bank. I expect him to keep the title probably till Money in the Bank, but I full on expect them to cash in on him, and it'll probably end up being Braun Breaker maybe winning the case and then giving the case to Seth or something like that.
Ooh, yeah.
Like I said, and doing it for Seth. Like I said, because there's the big picture, like I said, and whatnot. And Paul Heyman will sell Braun Breaker on the big picture and yada yada blase blase. But at the same time, in and of itself, I do like how they got Jey Uso taking on all comers and not really being worried or concerned about Gunther or whatnot. And I know Gunther's probably feeling himself after he choked out Pat McAfee. So, like I said, to me in and of itself, these are good bookend decisions. It makes sense to run back Gunther and Jay one more time, as well as, like I said, it makes sense for Jay and Logan Paul to finish up what they have going on also.
All right, moving on to our next match, which is one that we have not seen in a very long time. AJ Styles versus Finn Balor, and these two did not disappoint. This was a beautiful match in terms of technical wrestling, back and forth, and of course, this is awesome chants going on. I mean, I would have started chanting it before the bell even rang, honestly, with how excited I was for this one.
That's a WrestleMania caliber match.
What's that?
I said that's a WrestleMania caliber match.
Exactly. And, typical Finn Balor match that it is right now, but still being in Judgment Day. Carlito and JD McDonough come out at ringside and tried to get a distraction, but believe it or not, it was Penta who came out and helped AJ Styles to beat Carlito and JD McDonough, and then a phenomenal forearm from Styles to Balor leads to a 1-2-3 victory. The interesting thing to take away from this was no Dom Mysterio on the sidelines for Judgment Day. So again, building that ripple effect, that tear in the group with Finn and Dom. And I'm patiently waiting for it to finally happen. It's driving me insane because I'm kind of tired of how these matches always end for Finn. And like Dom can have that because that's kind of his shtick right now.
Right.
With his run. I get it. But with Finn, it's like, come on now. You don't need this, man. You don't need that interference. You're good enough for a win. And while the match itself, great, how it ended, kind of ruined it for me. But
sure.
That's taking, if I'm being honest, it's taking an A+ and just bringing it down to an A, honestly, for that match. Just how it ended. But yeah, man, that was beautiful, beautiful wrestling right there.
Yeah,
What do you think?
yeah. When you put AJ Styles and Finn Balor in the ring, there's only one result. They can't. They are incapable of making a stinker. They just can't. It's impossible. I believe that. So, I mean, like I said, you knew you were going to get a good match out of these two, and they did not disappoint. And I don't think this is the last time you'll see these two in the ring again. AJ wants that Intercontinental Championship, but there's a lot of other people that want the Intercontinental Championship too. So, I'm just excited to see what can happen. I think that IC title is what stands in between uh AJ being a Grand Slam champion, if I'm not mistaken. So
You are
that'll be a
correct.
big win. That would be a big title win for him. Make him a Grand Slam champ. So I mean, like I said, it'll be interesting for sure.
All right, we go to our next segment, which is a Becky Lynch promo coming in off of her loss against Lyra Valkyria. And what I'll be honest, this exceeded my expectations because I thought we were going to get a typical Becky Lynch promo. The man comes around, blah, 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 blah. But she actually did a pretty good job of investing me into this because it was all about how the reason why she didn't want to come back is because she had heard the fans and she wanted to listen to the fans. But when she came back and wanted to prove herself again, the fans turned on her. So she's making it all about how it's kind of like the Cena route right now, except differently. And now Becky is more on the rampage of, okay, well, you were happy that I'm gone, but now I'm back. I don't care what you think anymore. I'm going to cause havoc. So it was very, very interesting how it came off. We thought it was going to come off like a typical promo and went in a completely different direction for the better.
Yeah, Becky Lynch scorched the earth tonight by letting the fans have it. I full on expect her still to join into Paul Heyman's group that he's creating with Seth Rollins. I do think that is coming down the pipeline. I know her and Seth kind of try to not work with each other as much as possible because they're married. But I do foresee that coming in the future for them too, at least something like that, some iteration of them to be in their group together. With that being said, I also think that she has went on a rampage. I don't know if anybody has followed her on Twitter or everything like that. A couple of interviews that she gave, but she has been killing Bailey in those interviews and really talking a lot of trash about her, how she's a loser and how nobody remembers her and how she really isn't a part of the Four Horsewomen, and how she probably has to pay her best friend money, $100 just to text her back. I mean, that was pretty good one though. That was really good. She probably should say that one for TV. But originally, the man version of Becky Lynch was supposed to be a heel. It was like a Stone Cold version of a heel character that she had. So, like I said, she's good at her promos, and she got the one-liners down, and she knows how to deliver them and cut deep to the core. She's going to kill Bailey in whatever promo battle they do because, I mean, it just is what it is. But I'm interested to see what type of version of Bailey comes back whenever they do actually put her back on television to go up against her, because she keeps knocking at the door. So eventually you understand that these two have to meet and something's going to happen. I think it will be at the Women's Evolution 2 pay-per-view. And I mean, it could potentially close out the show. We'll just have to see.
All right, then we get to actually, I should backtrack real quick because then after that promo, we get another Rusev video package in which he promised to take his day back, but not until he hurts, quote unquote, them. So Rusev Day, almost coming back, fingers crossed. But I'm loving how they're reintroducing him, and I'm looking forward to his next match.
Absolutely. No, Rusev is being presented as a monster, as he should be. And like I said, in these promos, he's serious, he's intense, he's no longer a joke. And I hope they keep this up.
I mean, maybe once he gets that ruthlessness out a little bit, maybe we can get Rusev Day back. But maybe that's further on down the line.
Further on down the line.
All right, now we get to our main event, which is Rhea Ripley and IYO SKY versus Julia and Roxanne Perez, and another fantastic match between four of the best female wrestlers currently in the game. And I want to give a shout out to Julia and Roxanne Perez because this was pretty much the first time they worked as a tag team together, and they looked fantastic. Their chemistry together was great. They did not look out of place. IYO and Rhea, they've had their history together, so they kind of looked like they normally did. There was some chaos, but eventually Rhea got the tag. She headbutted Julia, then hit the riptide, and 1, 2, 3, Rhea and IYO for the victory. And then as both IYO and Rhea are raising their hands in victory, Rhea takes a look at the women's heavyweight championship, to which IYO says, and I might be paraphrasing here, basically she was saying, "You want to run it back," to which Rhea nods her head and then even slaps IYO on the butt and actually hurt IYO to where IYO was rubbing it a little bit. So, but that is how Monday Night Raw goes off the air. But again, Julia and Roxanne, it sucks that they had to lose, but at least they lost in a way that it was acceptable. Like, you're going up against two powerhouses right now in the women's division. It's not like you're losing to a Maxine Dupree or anything like that.
Right.
So it sucks, but their time is eventually going to come, and
you got to pay your dues. Yeah. I was thinking about them, and I was thinking about Carmelo Hayes this morning when I was getting ready for work, and I was like, man, like they've been losing a lot, but that's because, and I always go back to the old analogy that Sting used, losing really helps your career. Lose as much as possible, because once you start winning, people will buy into you as a winner. And like I said, and it will help your career in ways you never could have imagined. You'll gain ring trust with your partners, that you can go out there and you can take care of them in the ring, as well as you'll gain good favor with the fans, because they'll start cheering for you. I mean, like I said, think about guys like Karrion Kross, you know, like I said, that people just want to see him be successful and win now. He's won it, you know?
Yeah, and you said Carmelo Hayes. Everyone, when he was losing, the fans were getting frustrated on why he was losing. It's like, come on, like he's a great talent. He should be winning every single match and everything like that. That, like, the fans were already bought in to him, but now that he's finally getting over and he won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. He's teaming with The Miz right now, but eventually he'll probably get his singles push again later on this year. The fans are already invested in him because of that losing streak that he went on. And I feel like the same is going to happen with Julia and Roxanne now that they're mainstays on the main roster.
Yep, you got to lose to win.
But overall, a really, really solid show. Loving that we're still kind of seeing the fallout of WrestleMania. We also kind of, not really a whole lot from Backlash, but again, that continued storytelling from WrestleMania probably leading us into SummerSlam, or even, I doubt they end some things at Money in the Bank. This is all going into SummerSlam, but very, very solid night. The Balor versus Mysterio slow burn, the Rhea and IYO slow burn that's coming. It's getting there, and then finally Jey Uso getting kind of that top guy feel now. What'd you think of tonight?
Yeah, but before the show, me and you were talking, and I was just telling you, I was like, you know, I was on X this morning while I was at work, and I was looking over the card for tonight, and I'm like, yeah, this might be a missable Monday Night Raw. But in all actuality, the Raws that you look at like that actually are the ones that further along the storyline. Those are the ones you really don't want to miss because they further along storylines and you miss integral parts of the storyline. Now, obviously, you can go back and watch it, but this is a really good Monday Night Raw. The further along the storyline of Seth Rollins building up his faction, he has his new opposition, which is Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, CM Punk. You know, like I said, Jey Uso also has other issues because he got Gunther on his heels. He also has Logan Paul he's got to worry about. I mean, the rest, there is no rest for the wicked. And then, like I said, you see Becky Lynch building herself up, getting her heat going, you know, like I said. And then, of course, you have unresolved issues between IYO SKY and Rhea Ripley. I do think Rhea Ripley needs to drop out of the women's world title picture. If they have a woman to debut to cost her title that she could go feud with, she does not need to worry about the championship for now. Rhea Ripley, I understand that that world title gravitates to her, but she's almost hitting on Reign of Terror, Triple H style with these world title runs. So I'm okay if Mommy is free of the world championship for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, if they want to do something, you know, a little bit later, but boy, what a time it would be to debut a character like Mariah May and let her cost Rhea Ripley the women's world championship so they could immediately go into a feud together and make it a blood feud off jump.
Yeah, I would be down for that. One thing, I had read the rumors that there was a possibility that Asuka and Kairi Sane would come back tonight. That did not happen, but do not be surprised if one of those two are the ones that come in and cost that championship match. Now, will it be for Rhea or will one of them turn against Io? My guess is it is probably going to be Asuka who turns on Io, but that is for later on down the line. Like I said, the rumors were that they were supposed to be there and make their return tonight. I don't know if something changed, if something got leaked that wasn't supposed to, because I did see that there was a possible ending leak on how the main event was going to happen, and that was Asuka and Kairi Sane coming back to help Io win. But I don't know if that all changed because of that leak came out. But either way, those two are coming back sooner rather than later.
Yep. And again, I expect that it will be something to behold when they do come back, and they're going to come back in a big way. I do think they need to drop the Damage Control nickname and everything like that, and essentially in that say Damage Control died when they turned on Bayley. I mean, like
Correct.
I said, it was Bayley's group. It was Bayley's idea. They turned on her. So, like I said, they need to just ditch that in that, you know what I'm saying, figure something else out. But like I said, outside of that, it was a solid Monday Night Raw, a good B+ show.
Agreed. Well, that is going to bring an end to our edition of Monday Night Raw Dog. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to all of our content here at the We Book It podcast. For my man Virgil, I'm Coach, and we will see you all next week on another edition of Monday Night Raw Dog. Peace.